In our 78th season, the Palm Beach Civic Association expands its communication outreach with a state-of-the-art television studio. 33480, the zip code for the beautiful island of Palm Beach. Our goal? To bring you in-depth interviews of the most colorful and knowledgeable personalities on the island. And now, our host.
Happy New Year and welcome back into Studio 33480, where we are very pleased today to bring you an interview with your Congresswoman, Representative Lois Frankel. She comes to us today by her own request via Zoom.
Welcome, Lois Frankel, Congresswoman Frankel from our area. We are so pleased that you're with us today. Delighted to see you in 2022. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. Let's hope it is a happy one.
We're going to try to stay happy. Exactly right. You know, before we get into some thoughts you have about 2022, I was looking around at some of the things that you've been up to lately, and I understand you co-authored a bill, something having to do with healthcare for seniors. Would you care to share that with us?
Wendy, good to be with you. And thank you again. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, listen, you know, no surprise, we have a very, very large population of people. I'm not going to call them elderly, I'm just going to say mature. And my own mother is 96, alive and well, and a really personal experience recently with a fall she had that has really gotten me to zero in on this issue. The fact is that as people age, they face unique health challenges that include dementia, food insecurity, balance, isolation, mental health issues. And there are the older population, I'll say the mature population is predicted to even double over the next 40 years. So what this legislation does, and it's bipartisan, is to really to ensure that the Centers for Disease Control really can get a grasp or allow local communities to really deal with these various issues. So basically what the legislation would do would allow the Centers for Disease Control to provide grants and technical assistance to state, local, territorial, and tribal health departments for various activities. And let me just add something. I said I had experience. My mom had a fall about 3 months ago. Now, just so everyone knows, she's actually doing very well, but it's been she's really had a fight to recover. She broke a leg. I haven't added up all the bills yet, but I can tell you this, that one fall between the hospitalization and Medicare, thank goodness for Medicare, some personal expenses, we're in the high 5 figures, one fall. Multiply that out, Wendy, because there are thousands and thousands of older people in this country who are falling every year. It's costing us $1 billion. And you know how much money the Centers for Disease Control is allocated just in the area of falls? $2 million.
Oh my heavens.
Or maybe it's 3. It's ridiculous.
So your bill would help to solve that issue right there?
Well, that's just one. We really start to get some attention to a lot of these issues because I think we can all agree, regardless of what political party you're on, is that prevention is much better than treatment. And so many of these conditions are preventable. Morbidity due to diabetes, for example, falls, severe mental health problems due to being unattended. Obviously, we don't yet have a cure for dementia, but dealing with people early on also would make it less costly. So there's both a moral and a financial reason to pay attention to these issues.
Oh, amen. Well, wonderful. We're going to watch that one. Speaking of legislation, and I think so many of us as Americans are looking at Congress, looking at the polarization, the extreme viewpoints on either end. And I actually have a question in this vein from our Palm Beach Town Council President, Maggie Zeidman, who I know you know. And she wanted me to ask you this. She said, is it possible that leaders in Congress can rein in the fringe elements so that more centrist positions can be heard and more centrist legislation passed? And this is a direct quote from Maggie. She said, she believes you are uniquely positioned within Congress to bring a measure of moderation. So, I mean, that's a very nice compliment, but what do you say?
Well, thank you to Maggie. And, I've had such a phenomenal relationship with the Palm Beach Town Council. And, that's a really the perfect example of bipartisanship. Gareth Caniglio was mayor most of the time while I've been in Congress. Now we have a new mayor who I'm really looking forward to working with. And I can tell you that partisanship has never, ever entered the conversation of assisting and working together. Reining people in control, I can just say it's tough only because, listen, we're all elected individually by our constituents. And the sad fact is that the people who are on the extreme edges raise the most money online, and they make themselves very powerful that way and almost impossible to touch. But with that said, I want to say this. I do feel like most members bring a lot of common sense to the process and are looking to try to work together.
Glad to hear that. Absolutely. Okay, Omicron, we have to talk about it. It's on everybody's mind. And in fact, here is another question coming from another leader on Palm Beach Island, the fire rescue chief, Daryl Donato. And he wanted me to ask you, is there any way that the federal government can help the states gain more access to these COVID treatments, such as the monoclonal antibodies, for which they are completely out of right now?
Well, let me start by saying this. First of all, Florida has received from the federal government the most dosage of this treatment in the whole country. With that said, I think we should make it clear that what our medical doctors are telling us is that these drugs are not especially helpful in treating Omicron. And the best, as I said, the best medicine is prevention. It is vaccination, boosters, and appropriate mask wearing. People should know that getting boosted does not mean you're invincible, but it will protect you substantially from getting sick. Right now, for example, in Miami-Dade, 79% of the people who are hospitalized for COVID have not been vaccinated. And that is just, that is true across this country. So don't focus on the treatment. For those who are, and something else, Wendy, vaccines are free. And they're easily readable here in Palm Beach County. To get a dose of that treatment could be anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a dose. And it probably won't even work on Omicron. So I would say that the better focus is on vaccination, boosters, appropriate mask wearing right now.
All right, that makes sense. Couple more questions. We won't keep you that long, but last May in our area, we had quite a scare with the tainted water situation. We had this cylindrospermopsin toxin in the water. It became undrinkable.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people. And, it's our understanding that things are better. There's more testing. There is more direct treatment of the water for that specific cyanotoxin. But I think a lot of us are saying, could this happen again? What do we do about this? Where do you fall in with this water situation?
So Wendy, here's the good news. The Congress, we just passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which a piece of it is really aimed at clean water. And Florida is going to be getting over $1.6 billion to improve water infrastructure and have safe drinking water just here in Florida, just over the next 5 years. So there's going to be a lot of financial resources available to really use the best techniques and strategies possible.
Well, that's fantastic, because I was just going to ask you what portion of the infrastructure money is coming our way. And something already happened out at the airport, right?
I just gave you the piece for the water, but Florida's going to get over $19 billion. That doesn't even include the grants. So there'll be a $19 million each year for the next, that's $45 million for the airport over the next 5 years. Lantana's getting some. There is money going, Florida's going to get millions of dollars for electric charging stations around the state, as well as money to repair roads and bridges, the usual infrastructure. And as I tell people, this is not our grandparents' infrastructure bill. There is money, there's resources in there to make sure that everybody in this country has access to affordable broadband, because there are still areas, even in our county. We learned that, especially during COVID, when the kids were out of school, you had parents sitting at McDonald's trying to get the internet. So there's going to be a very significant resources to make sure that broadband is accessible to everyone.
Wonderful. And I got to ask, Build Back Better, dead? What is?
No, I think Build Back Better is just resting right now. There's a lot, and I just hope people know that Build Back Better is about really getting the financial stress off of, especially off of families, and lowering healthcare costs and childcare costs, elder care costs, and really making sure that we can get fight climate change so that our children and our grandchildren can actually live without daily forest fires and hurricanes and tornadoes and floods. So I think that from what I am reading, and I have, we've been on our in-district period, but from what I can tell is that we will get back to the table. It will be probably changed, but I am still optimistic that we will be able to deliver to the American people legislation that's going to really, especially in this time of inflation where costs are going up, that we will have some measures to get some really important everyday costs like childcare, elder care, healthcare costs, get them down, as well as providing universal pre-K to every 3 and 4 year old in this country, which would be transformational, because it would mean getting kids off to an early start on their education at a very, very crucial time in their brain development.
All right, we'll cross our fingers on that. Hope it moves forward. Finally, this is the year 2022. Do you have any thoughts, predictions, hopes, anything you'd like to share with us about where we're going to go, or you'd like to see us go?
Well, I think I have to start with, trying to get back to some normality in our life by beating down this COVID. Now, here's the good news, Wendy. We have the tools to do it. We absolutely have the tools to do it. It's a miracle, but we have the drugs that may not prevent you from getting the virus, but will prevent you from getting really sick or being hospitalized. So with those drugs, and they are readily available in this country, which is another really, think about it, we're so blessed that that's true. And we also know that if you wear a mask at appropriate time, you can also protect yourself and others. So my hopes is that we can get people to be responsible, not only for themselves, but for others, because, it's not like, hey, I want being free doesn't mean you can't be inconvenienced. It doesn't mean you should disregard the safety of others. I mean, just like we don't let people, drink as much as they want to get into a car, or we tell people to wear a seatbelt. We do things, not this advice or these suggestions are not only for your own protection, but for the rest, for everybody else. So I think we have to all embrace the concept that we are all in this together. And that the only way we're going to get past COVID is if we understand that and we respect each other. So I think that's number one. And number two, I think I would love to see the heat lowered on the politics. I think everybody feels that way. I'm concerned about elections and democracy. There's been legislation here in Florida and across the country that many of us believe will restrict people from voting, not expand people from voting. So I think, so what am my number one and my number two is let's get COVID under control so our kids are in school, our businesses are open, and we can really enjoy the wonders of this state. And let's make sure that we keep our great democracy, the best in the world, where we can, not only have a free society, but get everyone who is eligible to vote to be able to vote, and and choose our elected leaders freely and fairly.
Oh, wonderful goals. All right. Well, terrific to talk to you as always. And thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the best as you head back to DC. And maybe at some point, a couple months down the road, you'll stop in at our studio 33480 when you have time. But at any rate, we are so honored that you've been with us for this time.
Happy to be there again, everyone. Stay safe. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Again, we just want to thank Representative Lois Frankel for giving us her time and her insights into what we might expect in this year of 2022. And of course, we'll see you next time right here in Studio 33480.
Studio 33480 is brought to you by the Palm Beach Civic Association. Please give us your thoughts about our programming and how we can best serve our members and residents.